I'm not the only person who keeps a journal of impossible things. Not by a long chalk. Long ago, there was a man called Rastan Jovanich. He wrote down the most incredible things, things that drove him mad, so mad that they sent him to the terrible insanatorium of Despard. And he disappeared, but his journal survived, and I've got it. It's barely readable, but it is the definitive work on the lonely assassins, better known to you maybe as the Weeping Angels. But of course, these statues aren't angels at all. They're not even stone. At least, not all the time. One touch from a weeping angel sends you into the past. They consume the energy of the life you might have led. They're called weeping angels because they cover their eyes as if they're crying. But they're not sad for the suffering they cause. They do it so they won't see each other. And that's because if someone's watching them, then they really are just statues. It's a defense mechanism. If anyone can see them, any sentient being at all, they become quantum locked. They become statues. But look away, just for an instant, and they can move. They can move so fast that they'll get you in the blink of an eye. The blink of an eye. The scary thing is, until they get you, you can never be sure that a weeping angel isn't just a statue. And you can't be sure that a statue isn't really a weeping angel. Any statue, anywhere, however old, however broken, however innocuous it might look. Useful spoilers. How to deal with a weeping angel. Obviously, don't turn your back. Don't look away, and don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink. But it's worse than that. Rastan Jovanich warns in his book, that which holds the image of an angel becomes itself an angel. Even if it's only a picture of a weeping angel, that doesn't mean you're safe. If you see them on television, that's the worst, the most frightening. Children know instinctively about the weeping angels. They even invent playground games to train themselves to escape them. So maybe there are good reasons why children are afraid of the dark. Perhaps it's because in the dark you can't see the weeping angels. Even with your eyes wide open, in the dark, you can't see them coming. But they are there. They are always there, just waiting for you to blink. And if you don't blink, they can always turn out the lights. Every planet has its own myths and legends. On every planet they tell of monsters and demons, of creatures of the night. And on every planet they have stories about vampires. There's a common theme. Undead, blood-sucking creatures that fear sunlight and can only be killed by a stake through the heart or beheading. Perhaps several myths have become confused. But the vampires that terrorized Venice weren't actually vampires at all. They were creatures so terrible, they didn't mind if the locals mistook them for vampires. They were the last survivors of an aquatic race from the planet Saturnine. Only one female, Rosanna, and her male children survived the journey to Earth. They escaped from their dying planet through a crack in space and time. But for Rosanna's race to continue to survive, she needed brides for her sons. So, she set about finding them. The Saturninians hid behind perception filters that made people see them as human. But the human mind struggles to fit things into its own experience and view of the universe. People felt the threat. They struggled to rationalize it in what they thought they saw. So, they saw the teeth. The terrible, sharp, ripping teeth of the aliens. A subconscious image relayed to the brain as a warning of the awful danger, a hint of the creature's true form. And people saw nothing in a mirror, no reflection, like a traditional vampire, just empty space where the reflection should be. But the disguise was good enough to fool most of the city, and together with her eldest son, Francesco, Rosanna set up a school for girls. They drained the blood from the girls, replacing it with their own, converting the young women into their own species. The girls began to shun the sunlight, to burn in it. They were gradually changing into brides for the sons of Rosanna. And the people of Venice couldn't see what was happening, couldn't see the creatures for what they really were, not until the doctor arrived. But he realized that closing Venice off from the rest of the world and converting the population into creatures like themselves was only the start of the aliens' plan. They intended to turn Venice into an ideal habitat for themselves, to sink Venice beneath the water. Useful spoilers. How to deal with a vampire. Whether they're actually vampires or fish people from outer space, sunlight is a good defense. It burns them, keeps them away from you. Or you can just blow them up. So, if all else fails, make sure you have the doctor on your side. Make sure he's there when the darkness comes and the vampires rise. If anyone can save you from the monsters, he can. Planet Earth has been invaded. Not from space, not by aliens. Planet Earth has been invaded by the human race. It might come as a shock to find out, but humans weren't the first civilization on Earth. Millions of years ago, humans were just savage apes, in the early stages of their evolution, scavengers and pests to the first rulers of the planet, the cold-blooded Homo reptilia, reptile men. They have been known by many other less accurate names, Silurians, Eocenes, and the less than flattering nickname, Sea Devils. They built great cities and established an advanced civilization. With their technology, they could set up force fields, control other animals like dinosaurs, and tunnel through rock. They could also see into space. And their astronomers saw that a small, rogue planet was heading toward the Earth on collision course. The scientists predicted that the collision would be catastrophic. It would wipe out their civilization. So they devised a plan to escape the coming apocalypse. The reptile race built huge underground shelters and put themselves into hibernation. They meant to sleep through the catastrophe and awaken once the crisis was over. But the reptilian scientists had got it wrong. The small rogue planet didn't crash into Earth at all. Instead, it was captured by Earth's gravity and drawn into orbit. It became the Moon. So, the reptile race slept on, through the millennia. Occasionally, some of them have woken, by accident, or when disturbed by human activity, like the Discovery drilling project. There have been several encounters between the two races before, and each has ended in disaster. A group nicknamed Silurians was awakened by an underground scientific project. They tried to wipe out the human race using a deadly plague, but the humans found a cure and the Silurians were destroyed. Underwater sea devils, woken by renovation work on an old sea fort, sank ships and hoped to awaken all the reptile people. But the humans destroyed them too. A combined force of Silurians and Sea Devils tried to get humans to destroy themselves in a war. But the war was averted and the reptiles were killed. At the Discovery Project in Kumtaf, humans and reptiles came the closest ever to a peaceful agreement. But again, the talks faltered. The humans murdered one of the reptiles. Perhaps one day the two races will learn to live together. But that won't be for a long time yet. At the moment, humans can't even live in peace with each other.